One Tech Mind.
Hey there, I'm Lance Somoza. If you're new to the channel, welcome to One Tech Mind. This is where I do videos about the user experience aspect of technology and tell you what it's really like to use new tech in your day-to-day life. With just a touch of sarcasm here and there. I mean, it's basically nothing. You won't even notice it. Don't worry about it. And today is a textbook example of what I mean by user experience. You see, there are many out there who still say the iPad isn't great for serious work or productivity, and that it's not a real computer.
What's a computer?
Not again. However, I still push back against that because I use my 2018 iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch version, pretty much every single day for those exact things. I've been using it a lot lately for my video pre-production workflow. Everything from script writing to note-taking to task management, you name it. And it's true, an iPad still can't do every single thing that a Mac can do, but that gap continues to be narrowed. And it was narrowed for me even farther when I bought Apple's Magic Keyboard for my iPad Pro last week. And that's the point of today's video. I'm going to tell you why I passed up that new hotness, the M1 MacBooks, for a keyboard. Up until now, I've been perfectly content using Apple's smart keyboard with my iPad Pro, even though it's made of the weirdest material on the planet, and the angle adjustments leave a lot to be desired, to say the least. But then Apple announced their Magic Keyboard with a trackpad last year, and I was instantly thrilled with the possibilities that a trackpad could present, and then immediately deflated by its $349 price tag. Fast forward to today, where I've launched my YouTube channel, and I've been using my Retina 5K iMac back there as my primary video editing and graphic design device. However, it's not my favorite device for writing. The iPad is. And the iPad's really great for things like writing because of its native, built-in full-screen app experience. I've discovered that it helps me really focus on what I'm doing and not get distracted by other things. I also like being able to pick it up and take it outside and escape the confines of my cell of my office every now and then. So if it makes sense, as I decided to launch this channel, my need for a truly laptop-esque device became apparent. And then Apple announced the incredibly amazing custom silicon M1 MacBooks, which instantly changed the silicon game. And I've been so super tempted to pick one up for my workflow needs and more, but I didn't want to stop using my iPad every day. So as I was weighing my options, I saw that the Magic Keyboard for the iPad was on sale at Amazon, and I just decided to pull the trigger on it to see if it would meet my needs. And now that I've used it for about a week or so, I definitely feel like I made the right decision. You see, the Magic Keyboard elevates the iPad Pro to a near laptop level because it's many things in one. It's essentially a docking station with a decent range of angle adjustment that provides pass-through USB-C charging via Apple's smart connector pins. It has a backlit keyboard that feels so much nicer to type on than the smart keyboard. Seriously, you have no idea. And it has Apple's trademark, highly responsive trackpad that supports all of the normal gestures you can think of. My favorite of these gestures include the ones that you need 3 fingers for. 3-finger swipe all the way up takes you back home, up and pause, and you go to the app switcher, and you can swipe left and right to switch directly between apps. Combined with keyboard shortcuts, I found that I've been able to navigate around iPadOS and manipulate on-screen things much easier and more efficiently than if I were just using my fingers to touch the screen. So when I'm writing my scripts and bare notes and I need to look up some facts and figures, I can just click a couple times, bring up Safari, and get what I need, then swipe it away just as easily. Or say I need to grab an image that I made on my Mac. I can just summon the Files app, navigate to my desktop, and grab it super casually thanks to Documents and iCloud. And of course, one of my other favorite things about having the trackpad is being able to select and manipulate text way easier than I can with my finger. I mean, that's just a given, right? With a trackpad and a mouse cursor. And I have a driver personality when it comes to how I work. So I'm usually dipping in and out of apps with careless abandon, multitasking with split view and side over, copying and pasting, dragging and dropping all over the place. So it really grinds my gears when a computer tries to slow me down. So because of how the trackpad works and how I work and how iPad OS works, I found that I'm more efficient on an iPad than pretty much any other computer, including a Mac. And even though my iPad Pro is from 2018, it's still an absolute screamer. There's no slowdowns in sight for anything that I'm doing. So I can't imagine needing anything faster right now. But of course, it's not all sunshine and roses. There are some gestures with the trackpad that feel like they have a little more friction than other ones. And these are the ones that include getting to Notification Center, Control Center, the dock, and slide over. Getting to these require you to move the cursor to a certain edge of the screen and then very deliberately swipe again in that same direction to bring up the corresponding menu. And while you can click on the time in the top left or the status indicators in the top right or the home indicator to go home and access those menus, I still would have preferred something a little more elegant. Also, instead of touching the screen, in certain places you can use a two-finger drag or swipe on the trackpad to manipulate on-screen controls and elements. For example, dragging up and down with two fingers on the volume control and control center changes the volume. Or a two-finger swipe upward in the app switcher will kill an app. However, this two-finger gesture doesn't work everywhere. For example, if you try to control the brightness of a smart light in Control Center using two fingers going up and down like you would for the volume, it just dismisses the control. To control these kind of elements, you still have to physically press down onto the trackpad and then drag, which compared to the two-finger gesture just feels a lot slower. The keyboard also doesn't have a function row above the numbers that would allow you to easily change the brightness, the volume, access the dock, etc. like you can on a Mac keyboard, but a quick swipe over to Control Center isn't really that much more work. One of my other gripes with it, as I kind of mentioned before, is the dull, gray, weirdly textured material that Apple's using that's also used on the Smart Keyboard and now the AirPods Max case. The only difference here on the Magic Keyboard is that because the keyboard is thicker, it feels sturdier and maybe a little bit nicer, but that heft is definitely going to be felt in your bag for sure. This thing is not very light. From a cost perspective between the iPad with Magic Keyboard versus the M1 MacBook Air that I was looking at, I only had to pay the, let's call it wife-friendly price of $349 to add on the Magic Keyboard versus the wife-unfriendly price of $1325 for a MacBook Air with 16 gigs of RAM. So if you're interested in a setup like mine, here are your options with the current base model iPads that only have Wi-Fi. iPad Air and the Magic Keyboard will run you $994, 11-inch iPad Pro $1214, and the 12.9, which is my size iPad, for $1490. But if you don't know which to buy, my advice would be this. If you're not a serious artist or don't care for the largest screen, I really would recommend or look at the iPad Air right now. It has Apple's latest A series chip in it, and the things that you aren't going to get that you'll be missing from the iPad Pro, you arguably don't really need. And those things are the super high screen refresh rate that Apple calls ProMotion, an ultra-wide camera lens, and a LiDAR sensor which is used to detect distance. And instead of Face ID, you'll use Touch ID to unlock your iPad. And yeah, some will still say that if you're going to cobble together what essentially amounts to an iPad laptop, why wouldn't you just get a macOS running, benchmark breaking, industry changing, Intel lunch money taking beast of a machine in the form of a MacBook Air, an M1 MacBook Air? Well, it all comes down to your preference, right? And your needs and your use case. And I just happen to prefer the iPad. But that's what's great about modern computing, is that there's so many options, Apple and beyond. There's so many different kinds of devices, different mechanisms, different shapes and sizes, that there's bound to be one perfectly tailored for your workflow. So please buy whatever makes the most sense for you. I'm just a huge advocate for the iPad as a primary device because it's become so much more capable and more formidable with every single software and hardware update. So that's it. I'll get off my iPad soapbox now. I hope you liked this video, and I hope it gave you some insight into what it's like to use the Magic Keyboard with the iPad. Let me know if you have any questions about it down below in the comments. Let me know what you thought about this video. And many, many thanks to all of you out there who have watched, liked, subscribed, shared, commented, anything. I'm incredibly humbled that anyone out there is watching this, really. And we're inching closer and closer to 150 subscribers, so that means I'm gonna have to make good on my promise and give away a HomePod Mini once we hit that milestone. So I'm incredibly excited to do that and to reach that goal. So keep sharing, keep subscribing, and we'll get there really quick, I'm sure. And don't forget to reach out to me on Twitter and Instagram at the handles right here on your screen for additional tech commentary, analysis, an occasional meme or two. Or if you have any questions about technology, I'd love to answer those for you. If you don't know what to buy, I'll steer you in the right direction. And until next time, thanks for listening to my One Tech Mind.